Ed Booth.
Thank you.
Thank you
it's
very much.
good to be here. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's great.
I wanted everybody to meet Dave Tourje.
Thank you.
He's an artist of many kinds, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
You do sculpting and painting and music, and why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Well, I would say it kind of comes under the two headings of musician and artist. It's been sort of both things through my life, you know. First, I think I'm a visual artist. I've been doing that since I was very small. Mm-hmm. And I always thought
like painting and things like that?
Yeah, drawing,
Mm-hmm.
Making things, you know. Ever since I was a kid, you know, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Music came in later when I was a teenager. I actually always thought it was too late to start music because my friends all started when they were really, really small. Uh-huh. And when I was exiting high school, I started playing guitar, and I just practiced a lot, and I got good and ended up in a band. So since then, it's been kind of two tracks, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What was the band?
Oh, a lot of bands. I mean, just local blues bands. One band that became pretty influential was called The Dissidents.
Okay.
That was kind of a post-punk, early 80s, maybe to mid-80s band, you know, in the sort of LA kind of punk scene, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you still play guitar?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's not in a traditional kind of sense. I have a band called Los Savages.
Okay.
And it's just me, another guitar player, and then a steel wash tub with someone hitting it with a rubber mallet.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you some of that stuff.
That's very unique sounding.
It's very lo-fi. I'm interested in lo-fi. That's kind of my deal.
Like what do you mean?
Well, like sort of the reverse of technology.
Right.
The blues is really my basis as a musical form, you know, and that itself has a tradition of just, you know, a guy with a guitar or a harmonica, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
And so
it's very basic.
Very basic. Mm-hmm. So, but at the same time, we like to use technology to our advantage, like, you know, record with a trashy little single mic, and then put it into Pro Tools and make something out of it. So
yeah,
we use technology to help us, but it's essentially, you know, the whole concept is low technology. And that, to some extent, is in my artwork as well, especially the sculptures.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
you know, you should explain a little bit about how you got into doing the sculpting. Like, you have these very interesting, unique, kind of wild sculptures that you do.
Yeah.
And I know have you done some shows? You've done some shows with your paintings, I know that, right?
Yeah.
And do you include also the sculptures in the shows?
I like to include them. They're very different on the surface. They look really different. But for me, they're very similar. So they go well together as far as I'm concerned. The last show I did, I had both. You know,
Yeah.
I've done shows of just paintings. You know, the sculpting is, if you look at it, you'll see how low technology it is. But earlier on in my so-called art career, you know, I did very intensive type sculptural furniture and, you know, more of an effort to control material rather than letting the material control me. So I've kind of evolved from making these things that were very difficult designs and difficult things to make into things that are just trash and things that I find, and I just put them together and decide they're done, you know. We learn a lot of different things, you know, becoming an artist, becoming a musician. And all of these things, eventually, you kind of cross over the sort of mechanical usage of things like drawing skills or playing music, and it just becomes you know, where you just can do something that you want to do. It could be anything. You know, sometimes I combine music and art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a big breakthrough for me. You know, being a musician and an artist is sort of like, I don't know what it's like, but it's very different. You know, a painting lasts forever, right? More or less. You know, a gig evaporates as you play.
True.
You know, so they're two different kind of things. So over the years, I was always kind of thinking, like, how could I bring this together, other than playing music at my opening or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, it's okay, but so I came up with this idea a few years ago about making boxes, music boxes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'll have to show you.
Okay.
I'll email you some stuff on that or whatever. But so I make a box that is itself an art piece.
I think I saw this on your site. It's got like these really wild colors on it, and okay. So and it plays music. And
well, I haven't made one that plays the music yet.
Okay.
Although I'm working on that, is definitely in the pipeline.
Okay.
I'll record music. That's kind of being fused with the visual idea.
Yeah.
And then the box holds the CD.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
So so it's a combination of art and music. But a future project that I'm working on is going to actually have boxes, large boxes that have systems inside that actually play the music.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
for me, it just works really well because I love everything about music and playing music.
Yeah.
But there's a context that I'm in with being a visual artist as well.
Yeah.
So, for me, rehearsing 4 nights a week and gigging and all, that's not what I do anymore.
Yeah.
It's more like, how do I integrate all this stuff together in with visual art and honor both sides? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic because, a lot of times you'll have people who expect you to just be one way, one thing.
Right.
You're only supposed to be into this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like you can't appreciate the fact that someone could be talented and skilled and into doing all kinds of things. And really, who are you to say that you can't?
Totally.
Totally.
And this, I think, the era we're in now, the YouTube era, the sort of disintegration of the traditional music industry, the state of the art industry, it lends itself really well now. Now is the perfect time to really take a look at who you are as an artist and kind of break out of these, I have to be this or I have to do that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And there were artists before us, that basically fought those battles.
Yeah.
Like a guy I really like is a guy named Captain Beefheart, who, great, blues-based, avant-garde musician, really advanced lyricist, great painter. So he had trouble with it. He had a lot of trouble with it.
With the fact that he was doing both.
Yeah, because he became a very high caliber sort of blue chip painter at the end of his life.
Wow.
But I think he struggled with the fact that, you're a musician, so we can't really take you seriously.
People want to put you in a box, they want to categorize you. They can't.
Exactly.
They can't think with it.
Yeah, it's true, and it's everybody has to fight their own battle and figure out how they want to play the game.
Yeah.
For me, I have to remain completely free to exercise what I have to do. I want no restrictions to what I'm doing. I do things. I don't care if it sells. I really don't care. I am impelled to do something, and I just do it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
That to me seems the best motivation that you could have.
I love it. It took me a long time to get to this point where I can do it that way.
Yeah.
For instance, like the furniture.
Yeah.
So, I started making furniture out of concrete, steel, and stuff. And to me, it was just another kind of like my attention, because I was doing construction work, went over into this material, construction material.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just started getting all these ideas about concrete and steel because that's what I was working on.
Yeah.
And it became very popular.
Yeah.
I had a lot of galleries selling that stuff.
That stuff looks
in the
amazing.
80s.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem is that it was just a thing to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, now I'm a furniture maker.
Yeah.
But it got really involved.
Yeah.
And the galleries that were selling my furniture wouldn't take my paintings. Wouldn't, You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They just wanted the furniture because it was moving. It
Yeah.
was selling.
Yeah.
So after about probably 200 pieces of furniture,
Wow.
yeah, I just was kind of going, wow. And, you know, they were ordering like 15 of one chair at a time.
Wow.
Stuff like that. And not inexpensive.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a good gig.
Yeah.
But it was becoming, it was kind of becoming constrictive
Yeah.
to this process
Right.
you were talking about.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I realized that, oh, wow, this is just like I have another construction company now.
Yeah.
Only I'm making really cool looking furniture.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
It
there's,
turned into a machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, there's sort of like this restraint on the thing I really want to do, which is
Yeah.
paint.
Yeah.
So I just stopped making the furniture.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, because it wasn't like I had to do it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
It's true. Totally.
yeah.
Your choice.
Yeah. So I'm just, that's kind of my path, is to keep trying to stay free.
I really get that, like, from your artwork. Like, I really get that sense from looking at your sculptures and your paintings and everything. I mean, to me, it just kind of comes across like, you know, as it communicates the story of like mankind or a person or people and how they can manipulate things. They can make whatever they want of the things around them. They're sort of the creators and the masters, if you will, of all of these objects around us. And it's like, what do you want to do with it? Here's what I'm going to do with it. You know what I mean?
That's awesome that you see that. I mean, that's really what it's all about. In fact, I've been thinking of, like, you know how people at the bottom of their email, they have a little quote?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of, like, what would my quote be? So I'm working with this idea of art is everywhere,
Yeah.
you know, or art is everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, it's kind of about, you know, being in that moment all the time and having the chops to do stuff. Because, you know, you do have to go through the curve of learning how to draw.
Right.
Or learning how to play an instrument to some extent.
Right.
You know, so you got to, you know, but once you have the chops, then, you know, you can just be this creator
Yeah.
that moves through life, and you kind of can do what you want.
Yeah.
You know, now that all collides with industry and commerce and eating and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's keeping yourself alive and keeping the roof over the head and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just feel lucky that I've figured out a way. You know, there are different ways of doing things. You know, I don't want to be a painter.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be alive in a time where there is no dominant art philosophy. You know, like in mid-century, you know, abstract expressionism, you had the stranglehold on everything.
Yeah.
You know, so you basically did that.
Anything that didn't fit the mold, basically.
Yeah, would be, you could still, there were still artists who didn't do it, but it was not inside that sphere.
Yeah.
You know, it's gone the same way in rock and roll music. You know, these things are very dominant spheres. You know, you see it with the whole rap music thing. It's kind of interesting to see. I just kind of monitor the Grammys.
Yeah.
And that kind of tells you where it's going. And so this last one it's all being sort of deconstructed.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
I know. I was amazed that
Yeah.
we had, like, you know, new genres of music coming out and getting Grammys.
Right. And
You
these
know?
new genres are combinations of things.
Yeah.
Which are really, you know, this is the era we're in.
Yeah.
And so I really, it's a great time to be an artist, you know.
I totally
think.
agree.
Yeah, because really, you know, there's even been a lot of, you know, like articles by very prominent art writers that have talked about this subject.
Yeah.
You know, and that, you know, it's a very eclectic time. The thing that matters is that it's good.
Yeah.
You know.
It allows everyone a chance, really. You know, a lot more easily to reach people, and I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to do this show, and I'm so happy to have you on here, because, you know, just to talk about art in general and that sort of thing, and also to share all of your work as well.
That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is that, you know, I love to hear stories from people who are pursuing their dreams and making that happen, because and also to help promote that's going on, you know, just because it's like all you need really is to get something up there, and I mean, you can put it on the internet, and you know, depending on how many people you reach, I mean, you could reach who knows? It's like, it's limitless, really.
When you combine the state of the media,
Yeah.
you know, and YouTube and Facebook, Twitter,
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes it a great time because, like you say, I mean, it's kind of the old saying, like in music, you know, you have to have something to say.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the idea. You know, jazz musicians kind of say that, you know.
Yeah.
You need to have something to say
Yeah.
to be a good player, you know. So that's really what it is. You just have to have something you have the need or want to say.
Yeah.
And then you need to say it. And then we have this unbelievable framework of media that's completely accessible.
Yeah.
As opposed to 20 years ago when, you know, the music industry was like monolithic. You know, you had to penetrate through this big monster,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, to
Yeah.
get your stuff out. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me about, I would love to talk about your new short film. I know that you are the feature of the short film. It's called LA Aboriginal.
That's right, yeah.
And it's been going around festivals and starting to get some great recognition, so...
Yeah, it's part of this idea. It was a show in Beverly Hills where I combined the paintings and the sculpture and the music box. And it wasn't, I mean, it was just a small gallery. It was just a kind of another show. But the difference was this film emerged organically. You know, a friend of mine who's a filmmaker, Daniel Lear and Bayou Bennett, you know, I said, hey, maybe you can film the opening. And I'm just thinking, like, just to have for myself.
Yeah.
So then it starts to go, you know, and then
It's funny how things happen that way.
there was literally no real, like, let's make a film.
Yeah.
It was purely organic. I got kind of an unusual background growing up in Northeast LA and sort of this dual culture, you know, thing going on with the sort of Mexican heritage, white heritage, all this stuff going on in Northeast LA. And it was sort of part of the writing that was going on surrounding this show. And so it was kind of happening.
Did you say rioting or writing?
Writing. You know, like writing, people were writing about the show.
Oh, okay.
And my background.
Okay.
And so, but writing would have been probably a good, it's a good idea. Do that the next one. Just growing up in it, and Northeast LA had a lot of that. It had the Mexican gangs, the white gangs. It just had a lot of stuff going on there that was extremely rich. You know what I mean? And this stuff kind of makes its way through in the same process we're talking about, right? Just being honest and just evolving, you know, just evolving as a creator of things, you know, and, you know, letting these things are part of us, right?
Yeah.
So they're there. So they have inspiration.
Yeah.
Right? So, again, you know, I feel good about embracing that whole process and that whole background thing and the eclecticism of it and stuff, and, you know.
Yeah, I got that from your film. You know, when I watched the film, it definitely seems to incorporate all of that whole feeling, you know, into it.
That was I think, what I have to say for Daniel and Bayou, you know, their genius on what they do is that they can somehow see what's going on and then condense it into a visual product, you know?
Yeah.
And they did a good job of that. And my platform has always been a little difficult to describe.
Yeah.
Because of all these factors. It just,
I know.
It's like, how much time do we have? That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So the film kind of condensed it all into 8 minutes. So I can, if someone wants to know what I'm about, I can just send them to the film.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, so we started going into film festivals, and it's just, I think have been in 15 film festivals.
That's
already,
amazing.
You know, all around the world.
That's
From
amazing.
Sweden to DC to New York, LA, Phoenix, Rhode Island, you know, stuff like that.
It's really like a piece of LA kind of, you know, if you look at it, like just the whole street art kind of thing. It's, yeah.
In the early 70s, things were evolving in the surf industry. You know, boards were getting shorter, obviously, stuff like that. in skateboarding, there was this sort of singular revolution which had to do with the skateboard wheel, and they invented a urethane wheel, a soft wheel, that completely revolutionized everything. It was fast, quiet, sticky, as opposed to the hard, unworkable skateboards that we had before, right? So that opened up more possibilities, of how to use the skateboard.
So did you skateboard a lot?
Oh yeah.
So you could do some tricks, like if I.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can test me on that.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, but in around 73, 74, there was a big drought happening in LA, in the Southland.
So the swimming pool.
So you had to drain the pools.
Yeah.
So now, so here we go again. The youth with the tools and an opportunity. And who else is going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So there it was, and you have, obviously the Z-Boys, in Venice, they were the pioneers. They were ahead of everybody. But there were other pockets of, stuff happening. And the group that I was part of in Northeast LA was a very advanced group of skaters. And we had our own bowls. We had drainage ditches. We had schools with asphalt banks. We had the whole thing. And it was completely our life from the time I was probably 13 till about 17 or 18.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And I think I saw something about that in the movie, about skateboarding.
Yeah.
Right? Did you ride with skateboard in the movie?
Did I ride what?
Did you did somebody
Oh yeah, I was riding
riding
some, a longboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, this is the very beginning of, you could say, extreme sports.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the highest thing we could do is break the coping on the edge of the pool and put plywood, and then
make
hit
it
the
even
plywood.
higher.
Right. So
Amazing.
we getting air and all this stuff was a few years away.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? So, but we didn't have helmets. We didn't have anything, pads. It was just, it was pretty crazy.
A little scary.
Well, you couldn't be scared and succeed at it.
Mm-mm.
And the guys that would get a little hesitant, bad things would happen.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was great though. It was this countercultural thing. It was the start of you can't skateboard on school, and you get kicked out of schoal. And,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
Skateboarding is not a crime.
Rebellion.
Yeah. And it's for certain people. It fits personality-wise, and it definitely did for me. And it gave me a outlet, a non-criminal outlet to rebel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it threads through everything to this day. I still consider myself to be a skater.
Yeah.
For sure. I still skateboard, but it's more of a mentality.
Yeah.
It's more of a mentality that you just do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't think, you just go.
Yeah.
And
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I can totally see it that way.
Yeah. It's and it kind of ties into in the later 70s and early 80s when the punk scene started evolving in LA.
Yeah.
And the skate concept and the punk concept went well together.
Yeah. Totally.
So that's kind of how that works.
Oh, it's so cool. I love hearing these stories because I really feel like, you have kind of been part of the pulse of so many interesting, creative, artistic things that have been going on in Los Angeles, and now with your new film and with everything, it's just extremely exciting.
Yeah, it's great. It's just I think for me, it's just been the idea of just continuing, not giving up, not changing, not moving off the path. You just keep doing what you feel is right.
Yeah.
And then eventually everything works out.
Yeah.
There was a time I'd try to explain to people, this thing, skating in pools is the most important thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
And you get these blank stares, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
But now I think more people understand.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
It's kind of like the what would you call it? The start point of it,
Yeah, it was definitely the epicenter. Technology moving to the invention of this wheel.
Yeah.
The Cadillac wheel, and then that coincides with a drought
Yeah.
that people have to empty pools out.
Yeah.
And so you get a bunch of kids with these new kind of hot-rodded skateboards looking at these empty pools going, hey, you know?
Yeah.
And then this whole revolution starts that to this day. It's the X Games.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is fascinating, and, you know,
Yeah.
that's what I'm always thinking about that stuff. And in art history, there's always context.
Yeah.
Throughout history.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what was the thing that combined their feelings and their impulses and their, you know, purpose together into what that event was or what that creation was.
Yeah, and if you think about it, we're talking about the kind of the fun and the cool aspects of this time we're in as an artist. But look at the world. The world is in probably worse condition in a lot of ways than when all the rebellion in the 60s was occurring and anything happening at the turn of the century. Any time you see it, other than maybe World War I, which that was pretty heinous period of time. But there's a lot to say right now, you know, and it's like, who's going to say it?
That's totally true.
Artists have to say it. I mean, if we're going to wait for politicians to say it, we're in trouble.
Artists are the ones who are really communicating messages. You know, I mean, politicians will talk, and some people will get really passionate about certain politicians. You know, I have my favorites. But definitely, I think, and that's the whole thing with filmmaking and with songs and with storytelling and even with, you know, painting and everything, is you're communicating a message. So you can really create a difference when you try and, you know, get that message out there. So completely agree with you. There's a lot of things that we can help to influence. Yeah,
and I think this kind of subject of context ties in. If the artist understands where he or she is at in this kind of milieu of stuff happening, you know, in this world, then, you know, being the visionary, perhaps that artist can say something about it that can maybe help change it, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Completely for that. I'd like to have the audience find out from you how they can check out your artwork, and so go ahead and let us know.
Sure. Well, DaveTourje.com, LA Aboriginal, the film is on the homepage. And do
you want to spell your name, Dave?
Sure.
Tourje? Okay.
DaveTourje.com or Dave Tourje Artist on Facebook.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're so welcome. I totally appreciate it. Yeah, it's been fun.
Cool, totally. Thank you for watching artist Dave Tourje on
The Red Booth.